What's up, guys? This is my review after riding the SSR 170TX. This is my 2017 model. So I did post a video before this one. If you haven't seen it, you can go look at it. It was on things I liked and didn't like on the bike right out of the box. So this is the after the ride video. I will post the riding video right after this. You'll see it at the end of this one. So to start off here, I do want to go to the motor here. The 170cc motor in this, it does have a decent amount of power. I was quite impressed with it. The riding video you'll see after this, pretty much I just stayed in third gear the whole track, through the corners, the jumps, everything. Even out of corners, slow corners, it still had enough power to pull out of the corners in third gear. One thing I was kind of hoping SSR would do with this, since this is more their like a race bike kind of style, you know, their top of the line bike, I was hoping that in transmission there they would re-gear it a little bit. That way you can actually use first gear. If any guys ride pit bikes, you know that first gear is just incredibly low and it just brings you to a crawl. So and same with second gear. Second gear is super duper low. So I was hoping that they'd do something about that and put first gear and second gear a little higher so you can actually use them on the track. That wasn't the case here. They kept it the same like every other bike, that you just got to crawl on it. So other than that, I didn't really have any issues with the motor. It ran nice and cool. It ran fine. The stock jetting in here, I'm in Las Vegas here. I couldn't tell you the elevation right now, but the stock jetting worked perfectly fine. I didn't have any issues with it at all. Pilot and the main jet seemed pretty spot on. If you guys saw my previous video here, I mentioned these pegs that it comes with are not grippy at all. You know, there's no teeth on it really to grip anything. I do ride my pit bike with riding boots, and throughout the day I didn't have any issues with the boots sliding off or anything like that. They stuck pretty well. So you know, I might change them out later for something a little bit more pretty, but right now it's not really a priority. So that was a good point in this. The one problem I did have with it, though, not really a problem, it's kind of more me, I guess. I always tend to ride with my knees really tight here on the inside to grip the bike. When I would lean back to transfer weight onto the rear tire, I would constantly hit it with my leg, or my pants would get caught on it, and it would pull the Kickstarter back and make the clicky noise while you ride. So you know, even like I said in my previous video, it would be nice to have a CNC one here, but even those aren't you know, tilted in at all. So I think I'm going to keep this one on here for now, and I'm just going to get my acetylene torch and heat it up here and on the top to get the angle. But I'm going to bring it in about an inch. I think that'd be really helpful. Even with this bolt on here, though, even super tight, let's see here, it is pretty loose. It does go back and forth. If I can let me see here, hold on, guys. There you go. See, it does move quite a bit on this on the shaft there. This is tight and everything. It doesn't get any tighter than that. That's just how it is. While riding after the end of the day here, I did end up with a few holes in my grips, which is not a huge deal. They're just cheap grips. I'll just replace them with some pro tapers, something like that. But you know, I didn't crash or anything. They just ended up with some holes. I got a hole here, and then on the other side I got two holes on the bottom. So those will have to get replaced eventually. They tear pretty easy. Also on the back here, in the rear shock, the compression knob here, I have it turned all the way to soft, and it's still pretty stiff. I'm a 170-pound guy here, so even with that turned all the way to soft, it's pretty stiff. So if you're a lighter guy, you might want to look into maybe a softer spring or something like that. I'm going to loosen up my spring a little bit, see if that'll help me out. It did tend to kick the rear end out off of jumps and stuff like that. As stated in my previous video here, I did mention about how cheap this shift lever was. You can see right here that it is bent outwards. I had to bend it a few times at the track, and that's just from shifting up. And you know, when you crouch down on these little bikes, you tend to push up and out, so it did bend it out some. It's just, it bends right here at this weld that they put, So I will eventually get a different shifter pretty soon here. That was kind of an issue. It just kept bending further and further out and messing up. So not too big of a deal, but still just cheap material, cheap metal kept bending. Going over here to the valves, I do want to state, kind of my bad. When I first got it, I didn't check my valves. I checked them after my first ride, and the bottom one was at 0.008 and the top was at 0.005, so they were, 2 to 3 thousandths off of, what they really should be. I usually have my bottom one at 0.005 and the top one at 0.003. So when you get this bike, if you guys do, you might want to check that out. One issue I did have on this bike, guys, is the chain. The chain stretched immensely. When you get it, it's pretty tight. It works, it'll work for your first little ride, and after that you need to tighten it. You can see how much plays in here, and this is after me tightening it already. Okay, so as you can see, I need to tighten it even more. One kind of bad thing here too is on these the rear axle blocks here, there's no mark, so you can't really tell where you're at on where you're at with these notches. So what I ended up doing is just getting a tape measure going from the bolt to the bolt here, and doing it that way. I will eventually take these off and get my caliper and put some little notches in there so I know where I'm at later. That was kind of a bummer when I tried adjusting the chain. Okay, so back over here again. My footrest here that my peg sits on, if I can get some light here, maybe you can see it. I don't know if I hit it hard or a rock hit it. Like I said, I never fell, but let's see. It did bend. It bent pretty bad, and like I said, I never hit it hard or anything, but I did have to get my my torch and heat this back up to get it back straight, because it was bent pretty bad. So that was one thing. I'll probably make one of these later. Make one out of tougher steel, definitely. Another thing is the my little gas vent here. The one it comes with pops on and off super easy. The tube here is super soft, and the diameter of the hole is really big, so it pops right off. And at some point I guess hit it or eventually wiggled off, but I ended up finding out on the track, luckily. But I would highly recommend you guys replace that tube right there. But other than that, guys, I'm pretty happy with the bike so far. It handles really well. I do love these rear tires. The book says to put 25 psi in it. For the rear tire, that seemed definitely way too high. It's really hard. I ended up bringing it down to 20. These Kenda tires that are in the rear too are very, very soft. Just after a ride, you can already see they're getting a little chewed up here. So I'm pretty sure these tires aren't going to last very long, which isn't a huge deal, but I mean, they're still nice tires for this bike. But that's about all I have for you guys. So after this, I will post the this will continue into my riding video. So enjoy, guys.